Hi, and welcome to another Odd Job Motors test report. Today we are running a 1957 West Bend 6 horsepower Pike. This motor sold for $249.95 when it was new in 1957. And as I said, it was rated at 6 horsepower. This motor has a 2-inch bore and a 1 11/16 stroke. It was rated for 10.60 cubic inches. It's a 2-cylinder motor, water-cooled of course. As many of you guys are into the old outboards know, West Bend supplied outboard motors to Sears and Roebuck under the Elgin name. And this is basically a 5.5 horsepower Elgin. It has a different cover, pan, and front dashboard on it. I really kind of like the styling. It's kind of funky. Definitely doesn't look like an Evinrude or a Mercury, so it has a unique look, or a Scott Atwater. Like the Elgin, it's got this front control panel with the gear shift and the pull start, and the little door here that hides the needle valves, which I think is kind of cool. And it's got a nice long tiller. One nice thing that West Bend did, and Evinrude and Johnson didn't get until the 1980s, was actually putting a tilt lock so that you could tilt the motor up and it would actually stay up, which I find is a convenient feature. Unfortunately, when you're working the camera one-handed, you need to have 2 hands for it. This is a nice motor. It's funny, we were just running a 1958 5.5 horsepower Evinrude on this very same boat today, and the difference in performance is pretty astounding. The Evinrude was, I would say, a good typical example. We're getting about 11 miles an hour out of it, 4,500 RPMs or so. And this guy actually is quite a bit faster. I think I was seeing 13.5, almost 14 miles an hour out of it at 4,400 RPMs, and it's rated at 4,500 RPM, so that worked out pretty well. See if I can restart it here. They're always difficult when you're doing it on camera. So one more. There we go. It's not quite as quiet as the Evinrude was. It is very smooth. I like it has a nice long tiller. And the handle here is pretty comfortable. I'm always jaded because those 58 Johnsons that have that space age tiller grip, which just bites into your hand. After about 10 minutes, your hand is killing you. I think that typically based here in New England on what we see, you'll see about 10 Elgin fiberglass hooded Elgin 5.5s. for every 1 West Bend that you see. These are pretty uncommon. Sears had a long relationship with West Bend, providing outboards, as I mentioned before, and they knew, I guess the handwriting was on the wall, because that relationship sort of ended, the exclusivity of it ended in 1958, and then Scott Atwater came in starting in 1959, having probably a little broader range of outboards. I think was attractive to Sears. West Bend was bought out by Chrysler, and there were Sears motors that were even made by Chrysler, especially up in Canada. We see those. They're not very common, but they still did have a big private brand business. Of course, then later on went over to Sea King, Montgomery Ward's, which was into the 1990s, I think even under Force. But as I said, the West Bends were pretty uncommon early on, and so it's fun to pick when you pick one up. It's just something a little different. Anyway, that's the 1957 West Bend Pike. I hope you've enjoyed this short video, and I hope we'll see you out on the water running an antique or classic outboard. Thank you.